This episode of MMPQB is brought to you by Unleashed Music, helping artists like Michelle Malone, Dar Williams, Arctic Monkeys, and you to get their music heard by the right ears. Take your music career to the next level, unleashedmusic.com. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, MK. This is More Music, Please Quarantine Beat, if you've never joined us before. It's a show about having free-flowing conversations with folks from all corners of the music industry. I always enjoy having the opportunity to speak to somebody who I've never really spoken to before, and just getting to know someone in real time as you listen. And that's what I got to do this week with the wonderful Diana DeMuth. So thank you to Diana for joining me, and don't forget to check out her music. All right, on the line with me today, her new album, Misadventure, her debut album, is out now via 30 Tigers. It's Diana DeMuth. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. I remember we were playing your song, Hotel Song, which was like a teaser single. It wasn't even really an official single, right?
Yeah, Hotel Song was the first song we put out. Right at the beginning, and everything has come out since then, but that feels like a while ago now.
Yeah, no, it was, because that was when I was at the radio station, and I remember I was like, oh, this is a cool song, like, I was looking forward to, having the chance to have you by the studio at some point, and then, of course, COVID happened, and now everything is weird, so I'm delighted to have a chance to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, for sure. It's at least we can do this, right?
Yeah, exactly. I usually start these conversations by just kind of asking you how quarantine life is going for you. I think you actually managed to be on the road a little bit lately, haven't you?
Yeah, we did I was in California, and my band came and, picked me up, and we drove back across the country, and did kind of as many shows at radio stations outdoors as we could do, which was, a different experience playing outside, but it was actually ended up being pretty cool. We did a couple of those on our way back, and, hope to do many more when this lifts a little bit more.
Yeah, the radio station tour is a really good idea. I hadn't even really considered that, but just squeezing in that much promo. And were you doing like live sets with like studio audiences, or?
No, it was literally just playing for the tastemakers at the radio stations. I think people have done it a little bit differently. Some people have gone into the stations, and I don't know if that's been live, but we opted for just outside performances, just to kind of, connect and play for the people at the radio stations. And it was easy. We just kind of showed up with an acoustic situation and played, and it was actually a lot of fun. So I'm glad we got to be able to do that.
That's so interesting, because I was an early casualty of budget cuts at my station, so I haven't been around to see like what live performances or what radio promo looks like in this current climate. Like, we were still so locked down when I left. It was very much like, don't go near me when I'm in the studio. I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing a mask as much as I can. I'm Lysoling everything before and after my shift. So I'm glad it's possible to do something. And so you weren't even doing, was it broadcast, these sets that you were doing, or was it literally just for like the music director and program director?
They were broadcast. Some of them were broadcast after the fact, and were recorded just outside. And they actually ended up for doing what that was. They actually ended up sounding pretty good, but it really depended on the station and the protocols there. And we were being pretty diligent about safety and stuff. So hence the outside sessions. But it was a little bit different. The first one we did was just playing on the porch of a tastemaker, and it wasn't recorded or anything. It was just so he could hear the music, and he's since become a big fan, which has been awesome. And then, we also did a couple sessions outside in parking lots that were recorded and then aired later on. So it was just kind of whatever we went with the flow and whatever the radio station was comfortable with. But I'm glad we were able to at least do something during these wild times.
Yeah, that's cool. It's kind of heartening to hear that, like, at least that's been happening.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is your debut album, right? What was the process like putting that together? And, how did you end up, going with 30 Tigers as a distributor? Because I love those guys over there. They're wonderful.
Yeah, this is the debut album. This album was kind of began and finished last summer. So it's super exciting to, have it out now because I've been sitting on it for so long, and it came to be. I was in London about a year and a half ago, and I was just kind of trying to figure out my life, and I'd been working at this restaurant for a long time, and I started writing Hotel Song and another song on the album called Signs, and reached out to a guy named Simon Felice, who is the producer of the Lumineers and Jade Bird and many other awesome artists. And I just felt like he was the right person for me to make this record with. And, after a couple reach outs, we linked up, and I flew out to the Catskills to kind of begin this process. At the time, we didn't know it was going to be a whole album. I was just supposed to do a couple songs with him, and we ended up really hitting it off and really, writing and the whole album together with our other friend and producer, David Barron. And so it just kind of snowballed into this really cool, project. And we wrote everything pretty quickly, and it was mostly written in the Catskill Mountains, and recorded it all that summer. And then since then, a lot has happened, but that's been kind of the process of the album. And then, the idea was to release 6 singles before it came out. So we've been doing that starting 6 or 7 months ago. And so that's been a cool way to kind of unveil the album. And 30 Tigers just felt like a good partner. They what they stand for, and the artists they work with, the model in and of itself is just something I thought was really awesome. And you have a lot of control as the artist. You really are. They say you're the label as the artist. So all of it is, I'm very hands-on with the whole thing, which is great. And they've been an epic partner to do it with so far.
Yeah, that is wild. I can't. So you literally just cold called Simon and were like, "Hey, I want you to produce this record," and he was like, "Yeah, okay, sure."
Well, that's the short story. I mean, I reached out to him a couple times, and there was, I wouldn't say it was that easy, but it ended up, it ended up just being, there's just stuff. I feel like sometimes stuff like that can be really hard and usually doesn't happen. And for whatever reason, this just ended up working out with his schedule and where he was in his career and his life. And, so it was as simple as me reaching out and us. And then once we met, that was really when the whole album started to come to be, and the whole story of, misadventure and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, of course, it's not as easy as like you send one email and, the producer of your dreams is like, oh, sure, let's fly out and we'll work together. And of course, part of it was him liking what you do and connecting with your music. But I think it's such a great testament to like, just, try, like, even if you think you're not going to be on somebody's radar, or you're not going to be able to get through to them, like, just give it a shot. You never know. Or give it a few shots like you did.
Yeah, I think you just got to go for it. I think I had like a light bulb go off where I just like, I've always been a fan of the Lumineers and Jade and all the artists he's produced. And I never knew who he was actually. So I was just a fan of his work without knowing it was actually him. Mm-hmm. And then what actually happened was I heard I think it was a Jade Bird song, when I was driving around one day, and I was like, I didn't know at the time it was Simon's work, but I was like, whoever produced this album should produce my album. Like there was just like this kind of light bulb that went off, and then come to find that he was the guy that has done a lot of my favorite records. So it kind of happened in a cool way. And then intuitively, I just really felt like he was my dude, and it ended up working out. But yeah, you just got to shoot your shot, man,
So can I be a little bit nosy? Because, you sound American or Canadian to me. What were you living in London? How long were you there? And what brought you over there?
Yes, I am American. I was playing shows over in London. I was staying there for like a month, and I was staying at this crappy hotel there, which is where Hotel Song was born out of. And I like Europe a lot, and I love London. It's one of my favorite cities. So whenever I can go over there, I do. And I was just playing, small little shows there. And I think I was there for about a month and a half. And, yeah, that's kind of just like the point where I started writing these songs for this album. Yeah, London is one of my favorite places to go and play music.
Cool. So you were an independent singer-songwriter before you started putting the album together. Had you ever like self-produced anything, or did you have any demos out in the world, or were you just sitting on songs and, had never really recorded before?
No, I mean, I've recorded all my life, but I've never, this is the first, you don't just obviously wake up one day and write your debut album. Obviously, over the course of my life, I've been writing and recording ever since I was a little kid, really. And this, however, the Misadventure album was the first like full album that felt to me like this is really like this feels like my true first step in terms of what a debut album should be. But yeah, you have to get your feet wet growing up and cutting your teeth on songs and all that. So I of course had written my whole life, but this just felt like the real first thing.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something so like interestingly, I don't know, like you seem very chill and you seem like, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and be like, oh, it sounds like it came kind of easy, but it seems like you just kind of manifested some really good things.
Well, I mean, I could tell you a lot of hardship stories, but I think, like I was lucky enough growing up to have parents who really believed in my art. They're not musicians. They're both artists, though. They're both visual artists. And that was, I think, a big reason why I ended up sticking with it. Mm-hmm. But, it is obviously not as simple as waking up one day and, flying to the Catskills. I think it was, for me, it was a lot of, I went to school until I was about 18, and I went to college for a very, very brief time, and just figured out pretty quickly that was not the route that I was going to take, or was even going to be able to like put my attention and my focus towards. I just found sitting in a classroom incredibly boring. And from there, I was like, okay, so that I would have been 19 at the time. And I was just kind of like, I got to go do music. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And from there, I moved back to Boston. I went on a couple long tours with a band I had at the time, up and down. We lived in a van drove up and down America many, many times, and just kind of played in bars and anywhere that would really let us play. And then from there, I kind of have been on both sides of the country. I lived in California for a while, and I've been back here. And in that time, just really writing and waitressing. I was a waitress for 3 years at this crazy place in California. And, it was for a second, one of the reasons that I went to London in the first place was I had quit my job at this restaurant, and I was like, I just want to go play music and take a breather from, the day to day. And so when I went to London, I was kind of trying to figure out what to do and if it was really going to work out. And if I could do this with my life. And I think that's when, these specific set of songs started to kind of come to me, and that's what launched this whole new phase, this new journey with Misadventure and the album, and the great collaboration with Simon, etc.
Yeah, cool. Well, man, thank you for sharing. It's cool to like get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. I forget just because I'm so used to talking about the album that like people don't know that that it's not the only thing that I've done.
Well, no, and it's funny because I've been like aware of you and your music because of Hotel Song. I think that was an ad I made like shortly before I left the station. So like you've been floating out there in the world for me, but like so it's nice to finally like talk to you and like know who you are a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you are back in the Catskills at this point. I mean, obviously, don't dox yourself, but you said you've been doing a little bit of hiking, which is also something that I've been doing a ton of this summer, which has been wonderful because, again, unemployed. Super nice to have all this free time on my hands. As much as it comes with a certain amount of stress, it's also like, oh, I can spend the summer outside. Like I think I went swimming more times this summer than I usually ever get to do because, I was working full
Right.
time indoors, and I would see my friends who were teachers or whatever who have the summers off just, posting Instagram stories of like sunbathing on a rock and just want to blow my brains out. So I've really been
Right.
enjoying like, all of the outdoor time this year, this summer especially. Has there been some of that for you too? I know you were doing the radio tour for a little bit, but have you had time to do some forest bathing?
Yeah, a lot of it actually. Yeah, I mean, I've been spent most of the summer in the Catskills, and my bassist Billy grew up in this area, so he has like all these insider kind of secret swimming holes that we've ended up going to, and that's been the thing I've been doing a lot this summer. You know, pretty much, yeah. I swam similar to you. I swam and hiked more this summer than I think I have in the last 10 years. Just because I've had, as most people have had, the time to do it. But I will say it's been very medicinal to be kind of like out in nature here because it's so beautiful. And yeah, so between the hiking and a lot of swimming, it's been like almost, I was talking to him the other day and I was like, it's almost kind of like my childhood again, because I feel like this is what I did a lot of when I was growing up, and since then have either had a job or been touring or been making an album. So the silver lining, one of the silver linings of COVID has been kind of reconnecting with the outdoors.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk a little bit about swimming holes because I've also been spending a lot of time at them over the summer, and the swimming holes are such a controversial topic here in the Hudson Valley.
Right.
Because, there are plenty of beautiful natural wild spots, naturally formed just in rivers or lakes or waterfalls or
Right.
wherever. And then what happens is like somebody will post about them online. Actually, I think what happened like maybe 10 years ago was there was like an article in like the Visit Vortex that just outlined a bunch of these natural swimming holes. And immediately people come and trash them. And like this summer, especially because of COVID, there's been an insane amount of
Right.
traffic from the city and people coming up to, spend time in nature and just not treating it respectfully. And even if they are treating it
Yeah.
respectfully, the fact that there is so much more traffic makes it so much harder to enjoy things. So my friends and I have been really trying to get creative and like find these like even more off the beaten path, find our own little swim spots. So, yeah, have you witnessed any of this? And of course, we're not going to mention any locations on this podcast.
No, no, I wouldn't want to give it away. So I had been to the well-known swimming holes the summer previous, around the Hudson Valley, especially Woodstock and stuff. And I saw, of course, this summer it's been much worse because of COVID, but even last summer they were really super populated. I will say again, Billy, who grew up here, showed me a series of swimming holes that are completely untapped and I think unknown by most people. It's like I guess from growing up, you would never really know about them, I think, unless you grew up here. But I was amazed when I first saw them. It was like being in Hawaii or something. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So we've gone there several times and just not really told anybody about it to kind of keep it super under wraps.
That's
And
what you got to do. Yeah.
yeah, you do see people there, specifically the one I'm thinking of, but not. It's really like it's a bunch of swimming holes, and it's just a big hike into them.
Hmm.
So it's nothing has been overpopulated, although there are people there. But then you go to some more well-known places, and there's beer cans everywhere and too many people. So I kind of think like I have two minds about that, and one is I don't think it's ever a good idea to post about it because people, especially now with how many people have moved up here, will they get super overpopulated. But it's also as somebody who loves the outdoors and loves to swim and nature, it's so nice to be able to go spend time. Swimming holes are one of my favorite places to swim just because especially in the Hudson Valley, the water is so fresh and clean and super cold. So I think, yeah, I kind of I've thanked him so many times for showing me these swimming holes, and will never tell anybody where they are.
I know. Yeah. Every so often I'll see somebody posting on Facebook and be like, does anybody know any swimming holes that aren't super overpopulated? And I'm just like, sorry, bro. Like, I feel for you, but
Yeah.
you just can't do it. Cause I mean, they're going to find out sooner. Like, people will find out. There was one that I was going to last summer and we rarely would see anybody there. And then this summer, just, more and more people throughout. And of course, like, I don't want to begrudge anybody the
No, of
pleasure of
course.
hanging out by a river on a hot day, but it's like you were saying, like there's beer cans, there's diapers, there was like a pile of
Yeah.
actual human feces at one point that we were
Ooh.
just like, who does this? Like, just go in the woods
Yeah.
a little bit at least. Like,
Yeah, people get. I don't like the disrespectful part of when taking advantage of that kind of thing. Because if in order for it to be enjoyable, you need to keep a space clean and well looked after, taken care of, and not be dumping garbage. And yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer, but yeah, I guess the answer is just to keep it under wraps as much as possible.
yeah, yeah. And, hiking too is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do around here. And, a little bit less of a controversy, a little bit less of a battleground because at least like, you're moving the whole
Right.
time. And there's still, of course, like there's the super popular areas like Minnewaska that like, I don't even know who's trying to even bother going there on the weekends because you just cannot even get in. Like there's a line of cars like a mile down the road, but there's so many beautiful
Right.
spots. And yeah, were you a big hiker before this, or have you just kind of like started getting into it this summer?
I wouldn't say I was a big hiker. No, my sister is super into. I have a younger sister. She's super into wilderness stuff, and that's always been kind of her thing in our family. But I think just it's really been being up here and really having this time off that is kind of at a certain point there's not too much to do if you take away during when it was locked down and no restaurants were open, you couldn't really go anywhere, there's not really much else to do. And we're in such a beautiful place that I kind of just fell in love with exploring really just the natural world. And the people I know around here also love to do that, so I guess it's sort of a new thing. And one that I hope to kind of keep doing, and I think also for just my own mental health, I think getting out and getting fresh air and exercise has been really important during this time.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's so important. Are you a solo hiker or do you prefer to go in groups?
Well, I will solo hike. I've had a couple instances where I was like, I kind of wish I was with somebody, just either because it was like I'm not like, I've seen a fair amount of bears being up here and I'm not really scared of them, but I'm also like, kind of like I would prefer to be with somebody on a hike. And
For
then
sure.
I don't know, I feel like it's usually smart if you're going to do like a hike that's any kind of intense. I feel like it's usually smart to go with somebody. And so for a while we were again, with a couple of people, I was kind of exploring the trail system up where, where like Devil's Path is.
Yeah.
That kind of whole trail system up there. And we weren't doing the whole thing, but that kind of stuff I would usually go with somebody, just any kind of hiking that could be foreseeably a little tricky. But yeah, not just hiking too. I also just love to walk, and just I think it's been like just a big thing for me, kind of get re-engaging with just being outside, and even if it's just walking around the neighborhood or my dog, it's just a good thing to do. I've kind of it's become meditative for me.
Yeah, dude, same. I'm a huge walker. I also have dogs, and that's always like, I mean, I got my dog, my older one, like 8 years ago now. So like my whole like basically adult life at this point, I've just had this dog that was a part of my routine because he has to get walked, but like it works so well for me because I love
Right.
it, and he's a great hiking companion too. And I've always been a big hiker, a big outdoors person, a big like explorer, and it's gotten me almost into trouble on several occasions. Knock on wood, I've never really like been in serious danger, I don't think, but there's been a
Right.
couple like hairy instances because I am kind of like a solo person, and like I'm more than
Right.
happy to go with friends. I love going hiking with friends, but I definitely am a little bit like hard-headed where if there's just a day that I want to go do something and nobody's available, I'm going to do it anyway. So like case in
Sure.
point, I spent some time in Louisiana and there was one day that I decided to go check out this like hiking trail that I found on this old like Civil War battlefield historical site. And I was like, oh, this looks like a simple, easy little trail system. And I had a little map from the visitor center or whatever. And I don't like to double back if I can help it. That's a big like hang up that I have that's gotten me in trouble. I strongly prefer to make a circle. So I'm hiking out and it looks on the visitor's map as though you get to the end of this trail and then you could just pop across this river and the trail picks up on the other side and goes back down to the visitor center. So I get to the end of the trail and the river is a little intense. It's like this kind of steep embankment down and then, you know, like a scramble up the other side. But I was like 20 at the time. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. So I go down into this river in the middle of rural Louisiana where I've never been before. And I scramble up the other side and lo and behold, there is no trail there. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to follow the river then because, you know, that should be pretty easy. And like I'm looking on the map and like, long story short, I thought I was going to end up spending the night out there. I ended up like, I walked out into like an oil field. I was like, this is not good. Like, I ended up making it back after like a few hours, but like I was concerned for my safety. And I've done that to myself several times. I've done it in the Adirondacks. I did it recently around here where I went to this new area that I found out about and I was like, didn't even bring water or anything. It was just me and my dog on a super hot day. And I was like, we'll go out for an hour.
Man,
and I just got turned around, didn't know where, like, I really, this is the worst thing I do to myself is I fuck up and get lost on hikes.
Yeah, no, that's happened to me. The other thing too is you know, whenever we travel or, you know, drive across the country, which is pretty frequently, we always put on, you know, I'm true crime obsessed. Like I love true crime and true crime podcasts. And it pretty much 50% of it is usually like a woman walking alone somewhere, and that's how the story starts. So the more I listen to that too, I'm just like, okay, I should probably bring somebody with me.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, I don't listen to a ton of true crime. I've done some, but it does make me kind of paranoid. I prefer like supernatural shit. I listen to like lore and like spooky ghost stories. I'm like, let me hear some shit that's probably not going to happen to me.
Yeah, I have like a fascination. I always have. I don't know why, but it does kind of make you, especially when you live now alone in a cabin in the woods, it does make you a little bit paranoid.
Dude, I know. And like, my partner's been working down in the city most of the summer and he's a big, like, he's very blasé about locking the doors, for example. And like, he'll make fun of me for like being a little bit nervous some nights when he's not there and like making sure the doors are all locked and, you know, keeping my spare set of car keys next to my bed so I can hit my car alarm if somebody tried to break in. And he's like, why are you thinking about this stuff? Like none of this is going to happen. I'm like, it could though.
Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, cabin in the woods. Like I'm in like the middle of a neighborhood. If I screamed, all my neighbors would hear me. But yeah, cabin in the woods is even more intense.
Yeah, it is.
But also lovely. Like I love that kind of scenario. Like when I was in the Adirondacks, I was interning with the DEC, and part of my job would be to go to like these interior outposts, like 12 miles into the mountains, and just be the body there. You know, just be the presence in case anybody needed something, or I had to go find a lost hiker or whatever, and just like spend a few days there. And I loved it. There was one that was like just this beautiful cabin, and there were like gas lamps, you know, no electricity, but they, you know, had like gas lamps and a battery powered radio and stuff. And it was so peaceful and also a little terrifying, but I truly, truly loved it. And maybe someday I will retire to someplace like that.
Yeah, no, I think about that. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, I would love to eventually down the road whenever I quote unquote retire, do something like that, be out in nature. I mean, it's, you know, I'm coming from before this, I've only lived in cities since for the past, I don't know, 6-7 years. So this is a nice kind of change of pace too.
Speaking of cabins in the woods, maybe you are in the market for your own cabin in the woods or your own beautiful classic farmhouse up in the Catskill countryside. If that's the case, I know who you should call. Susan Barnett, licensed associate broker with Keller Williams Upstate Country Properties at 31 Main Street, Oneonta, New York. She's a member of the Otsego, Delaware Board of Realtors, as well as the New York State Multiple Listing Service. You can find her online at upstatecountryrealty.com. Susan is a true professional. She's got more than 10 years in the business and a lifetime of upstate expertise in Ulster, Dutchess, Greene, Delaware, and Otsego counties. She will find you the home that's right for you, or if you are looking to sell, she will connect you with the buyers that are right for you and right for your home. It is beautiful upstate. They might even tell you it's better upstate, and you can believe them because, especially if Susan tells you, because she lives up there. She lives in beautiful Delaware County, and she has not looked back since she's moved up there. She will tell you all about how great it is. If you want to hear about it and you want help buying your dream home in the Catskills, Susan Barnett, upstatecountryrealty.com. Are you a camper, or do you stick to day hikes at this point?
To be honest with you, I haven't done that much camping this summer. I've done a little bit. We were, again, when we were driving around, we were coming back from California, back to the Hudson Valley, and we stopped in Colorado and did some great camping there. Although we went up in altitude significantly, and I had my dog, and we were all a little like dizzy from that extreme altitude change. But camping is also something I'd like to get more into. I don't have a ton of. I think honestly, it's that I don't have a ton of gear, and I haven't sat down and actually figured out everything that I need to kind of go out and just, for a weekend or whatever. But yeah, for sure. I mean, camping is awesome, and it's something I would like to do more of, definitely.
Yeah, it is annoying how much gear you need to make it really good, because you can do it like super primitive, just bring a tent and some blankets or whatever, but like if you want to really enjoy yourself, like you need some stuff.
Yeah, I figured that out when I was back in California, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6 months ago. It was more around the beginning. Actually, it was probably more like 6 or 7 months ago. It was right before the whole, COVID thing hit. And I was in Yosemite and camping there. And we kind of I was with one other person, and we kind of did that primitive, bring a tent and some like comforters. And it was so cold, like the temperature drop at night. I was just like, I couldn't feel my feet or my face. And I was just like, I am never doing this again. And so I think I also kind of made that promise myself that if I'm going to go like properly hike somewhere, that I'll have the correct thing so I don't freeze to death.
Yeah, dude, the temperature drop in nature is no joke. Like my summer in the Adirondacks was really like my first experience with true like backpacking style camping. And I thought I was prepared for it. And then, yeah, like you said, my first night out in my tent, I was just, I think I barely slept because I was just like shivering all night. And I was wearing like every article of clothing I had brought, regardless of like how sweaty it was. I was like, I'm just going to put this on. I just have to have layers. And like, immediately after I got out of the woods, I like went to the nearest like supply store and bought like a little sleeping bag liner and like all of this stuff that was like made a huge difference. And I was fine the rest of the summer. But yeah, that was a real learning experience, that the stuff that keeps you warm in your nice warm bedroom will not keep you warm in the middle of the wilderness.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So, what are your plans for, as things start to cool down? Like, I mean, obviously nobody knows what this winter is going to look like as far as like events, but are you going to try some winter hikes? Are you going to try some snowshoe stuff? Like, are you going to keep trying to get outside?
Yeah, I definitely will keep trying to get outside. I did a lot of walking actually last year when I was prepping for a tour, and it was a little less than a year ago, and it was the dead of winter, and I was actually walking a lot in the winter. I'm not a big runner, so like for exercise, I'll actually just go out and walk, and that was kind of how I prepped for the tour, because you got to get your body ready and your breath and aligned and all of that stuff if you're going to be singing every night. So I actually don't mind walking in the cold, and I thought I would, but I bought this giant North Face parka and just kind of tried to forget that it was super cold out. So I'm going to do that. I think I kind of have to do that at this point through the winter, just to stay mentally sane, since we've all been kind of in this pandemic for such a long time now. I think it's just, I think it's so important to get outside, even if it's not super nice or super warm out. So I will be walking my way through the winter for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, also as a dog owner, like you gotta kind of no
Yeah.
matter what. And my older dog is a Samoyed, so he's like, "Oh, there's fucking snow on the ground. It's 20 below. Great. Let's go outside. This is my weather." So
Yeah,
I'm like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna bundle up and take you." The other one's a pit bull,
exactly.
so she like, puts on a little jacket and shivers in a corner, but
Right,
yeah,
right.
so you're doing some cooking lately, which I have
Oh yeah.
been a little bit better about. So is this also a COVID skill you've picked up, or were you always good in the kitchen?
I've always loved to cook, but I have to say that with the past couple years with my lifestyle, it wasn't cooking nearly as much as I should be. Obviously when I'm on the road, I'm not cooking and eating out too much, but I think it was also when I started to tour, it made me appreciate when I was at home and just cooking there because you're not able to really on the road. So, but ever since I was a kid, I've had an affinity for cooking, although I've never been like incredible at it. I've always just enjoyed it. And then, yeah, when I wasn't able to go to any restaurants or whatever, I was quarantining back home in Massachusetts with my mom for like 2 months and was pretty much just cooking every meal for us. So I dove back into my set of skills and yeah, just started cooking a lot. And it was actually, again, I probably overused the word meditative, but it also can be kind of meditative for me the same way that walking or something can. And yeah, so I enjoy it a lot. I don't really bake, but I do a lot of like, I love Asian food. So I'll do a lot of curries and started making my own sushi and stuff like that. And yeah, it's actually been super cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. I should get into making my own sushi because I fucking love sushi, but I can't afford to buy sushi every night.
Yeah, I have a series. Like if I could eat one thing every day, it would be sushi. But if I didn't get mercury poisoning,
Right.
etc. But yeah. But where we were in Cape Cod quarantining, and there was no really good sushi around. So I started trying to like figure out. The sushi is one of those things that's actually incredibly hard to make by yourself. Like you do it and you think it's going to be exactly like restaurant quality, but like the things that go into like sushi rice and how to make it and the way the fish is cut and all this crazy stuff really makes a huge difference. It's like deceptively really not too easy to do.
Yeah, well, and the ingredients too are a huge part of it, right? Like choosing
Right.
the right fish and the right cut of the fish and like yeah, like that stuff all intimidates me a lot because like you said, I'm just afraid I'm going to give myself mercury poisoning.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you kind of have to know. You have to have. I feel like if you don't have a good, I mean, I guess you could do like vegan or veggie sushi always, and I do that too a lot at home, just like seaweed wraps and stuff. But there was a good fish market I found, and just kind of they schooled me a little bit on the cuts, etc. Of sushi, of like tuna or salmon to get, and I wouldn't say I've mastered it by any means, but it is kind of cool if I want sushi to be able to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that's badass. Yeah, I've been cooking more like meat this year, which is something that, it's not like I was afraid to cook it. I was just kind of lazy and my previous boyfriend was vegan, so I was, essentially just eating vegan at home all the time. And like I find meat substitutes really easy to work with and like you can't really
Right.
fuck up seitan.
No.
Or like, I mean, you can fuck up tofu, but like I've learned how to not fuck it up and like, just it's so easy to make stuff like that and you're not going to like undercook it or anything. The worst thing that can happen is it just doesn't taste that good. So I've finally been like branching out and like making fish for myself, making chicken for myself. I'm trying not to, we're not really eating pork anymore, but yeah, just trying to like branch out a little bit more. But my partner is very much the cook of the household, so I mostly focus on the baking, and I've really perfected my protein cheesecakes the last couple of weeks,
Ooh,
which
that sounds good.
very proud of. Yeah, and they're like relatively healthy. I mean, I'm not gonna like sit here and tell you that they're healthy, but like, I use like Truvia instead of sugar, and there's protein powder and like non-fat Greek yogurt and low-fat cream cheese, and like they come out fucking good. And like there's all kinds of flavors you can do. So there's a chocolate peanut butter one in the fridge right now that I'm definitely getting into later.
That sounds actually really good. I might have to ask you about that recipe later.
Yeah, dude, I'll send it to you. It's so good. And like there's so much stuff you can do with protein, like protein powder cooking or baking rather. I
Yeah.
was making cookies earlier in the year. Just anything, any baked good that you want. If you pretty much just Google like a protein version of it, you'll find a million different recipes, and one of them is bound to be good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people, especially, like health conscious Instagrams and stuff, that people that bake with protein powder and do these kind of, like you said, relatively healthy recipes. So it is cool. I mean, it's good to be able to do that and keep it from feeling, like you're just eating crap.
Yeah, totally. Because I love baking, but I didn't really do it for years because I'm like, what am I going to do? Make a batch of scones and then like eat all of them? Like, that's not really how I want to live my life.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
to make something that I feel like not too bad about eating a little bit. Yeah, so I'm mostly baking, just doing some very simple cooking. I like to meal prep a little bit, but not in a super traditional like I'm going to portion out my things and weigh them out by grams and put them in separate containers. More like I'll just make a big thing of rice, big thing of chicken, big thing of veggies, and then like eat that throughout the week. Are you like a meal prepper?
I wasn't, and now I kind of am more. It's more that I just like I'll make more than I have to for dinner and eat it the next day. That's kind of as far as my meal prepping goes. I get like bored of things easily, so I have to change it up a lot.
Yeah.
So for example, like I can't like I struggle with making one meal and then having it like pretty much the same thing for lunch every day or something. So I try to, what I'll do is really just like cook a big, like last night I did like a salmon stir fry or something, and then I eat it again for lunch the next day. Um, but I think, I mean, as far as meal prepping, I feel like I always just try to have fresh stuff in the fridge, like that I can choose what I want to do with. But I, for some reason, mentally just do better if I wake up, and I'm very spontaneous with what I feel like at any moment. So it's good. I'll just jump in the kitchen and kind of figure it out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to keep fresh stuff around. I'm like not so great about that when my partner's not home. He's very much the like, why don't we have any vegetables person? And I'm like, I don't know, because I've been
Yeah,
eating guacamole all week. Like, like
it happens, man.
seriously, left to my own devices, I will just graze, and I'm making a conscious effort to not do that and to, like I said, like actually be cooking like fresh food for myself that I can eat throughout the week. But I also feel you on like just moment to moment, like, well, right now I feel like making this. Like, I might not want it tomorrow, so I don't want to make a whole ton of it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the one thing is like I've gotten busier these past couple weeks with like just virtual kind of, I think since the album's come out,
Yeah.
it's my schedule's gotten much busier. So it has been actually like, I think I've had a smoothie for breakfast for like the last 2 weeks, the same smoothie, which is very unlike me.
Mm.
But I think I will say like prepping for meals and stuff I feel like it's a good way to keep it healthy when you don't have time to really like think about what you're going to cook slash sit, spend 45 minutes cooking a meal. So I feel like that in that way, it actually is a good tool to kind of have in your toolbox when your schedule starts to get crazy. Because I end up like if I don't have like if I get busy kind of like I have been, and then if I don't really have a sense of what I'm going to make, I end up like not eating all day and then being so hungry at dinner and being like eating everything. So
Yeah.
it's probably a good thing to develop like a good meal prep plan. I feel like now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And like, even if it's not something you're super, super disciplined about, which I really am not, like, I have come to appreciate the importance of eating breakfast and eating lunch because, like you said, if you skip those meals, then sometimes at the end of the day, when you decide you have time to eat, you just end up eating everything or like eating junk food or, just like not like just eating in like an unbalanced kind of way. And, if you actually like refuel throughout the day, like a substantial amount, like you end up feeling so much better and better for your body, better for everything. So yeah, I'm trying to improve my habits there too.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
Yeah, I know. It's tough because I've gone through phases in quarantine where like in the beginning it was kind of like, all right, like anything goes. Let's, drink every night and stay up and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and then it became like, okay, we're going to be in this routine for a while. Like we're not going to be able to go to the gym. We have to get into like a home workout routine and like a better food routine. And, I generally try not to drink during the week. And, just you either decide the world is falling apart, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want, or you decide the world is falling apart, but I also still want to be healthy.
Yeah, no, yeah, I struggle with balance. So it's been, I think a lot of people do it, especially when you're like, this is just such an unprecedented thing that we're all going through. I think people are probably just like, I've seen people deal with it in many different ways, but I've tried to kind of balance it out. I am like, I have a glass of wine every night because I love wine. And at the beginning of quarantine, I was probably having one too many, but calm that down and like just trying to kind of, yeah, I just think like, I think balance is a good word that I've been yeah, just trying to be more balanced with everything, and also kind of being kind to yourself, because this is I feel like this is just such a strange thing to go through as a human being. Even though everybody's going through it, you still have to go through it. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It does wreak havoc a little bit on your lifestyle at first. I feel like, especially for anybody that's busy, and then you have to kind of find your new normal.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, like this is such a tough time mentally for everybody, and everybody's got their own version of it going on. I have friends who work in healthcare who have been stressed beyond belief, and then there's people like me who lost their jobs completely. So on the one hand, I'm pretty chill, but on the other hand, I'm like, fuck, I don't have a job.
Right, totally.
Yeah, so it's mentally strange and difficult for everybody, and you do have to like find the things that are going to serve you the best. And for me, maybe in the beginning it was like cutting myself some slack and agreeing to let myself like, have a beer, have a glass of wine, like,
Right.
not worry too much about if I'm working out. And then the longer it's gone on, the more it's like, no, it's better for me if I have some structure. It's better for me if I'm like doing the things that make me feel, healthy physically, and like feeling healthy physically definitely makes me feel healthier mentally.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super interested if anybody listens to this and wants to like email me like their version of events. Like I'm so interested to like hear like how everybody is dealing with this, and like what your particular like mental health challenges have been, and like how you're dealing with it, which is not exactly the point of this podcast, but fuck it, I'm interested.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I mean, you've got a dog too, which is wonderful. How old's your puppy?
He is 2.5. I got him back when I was living in California, and he's a little guy. He's like a Dachshund Chihuahua mix, and he looks like he really resembles what a baby kangaroo looks like. He's got these like huge ears, and has a similar coloring. He's kind of like this like almost light brown reddish color. Yeah, he's a cutie, but he's I'm like everybody else's dog, he's been thrilled to have me home to spend so much time with him. And the good thing about being upstate and living in a cabin is I have a big yard, so he gets to kind of go run around there. And he actually fought off a black bear the other day, which was pretty wild to see. So
damn, really?
Well, by that I mean he got up on his hind legs like a person and just ferociously barked at it until it ran away. But he's only 10 pounds, so it's pretty impressive.
Brave little dude.
Yeah, he's scared of nothing.
Yeah, no, dude, dogs are the best. Like, I mean, any pet, I think, is such not for everybody. I'm sure there are people out there who just don't even want the pressure of like having that much responsibility, which I totally respect and is completely valid. But it's such a wonderful thing, like, to have something that you have to take care of that loves you unconditionally.
Yeah, it is. I was freaked out when I first got a dog because I was about just like, it is a ton of responsibility, but now I've adjusted, and it's like you can't imagine your life without them once you have them.
Yeah. And we got our second one like a little over a year ago now, and she was a tiny infant baby puppy. And, my older dog was like 7 months old when I got him, so I didn't really have to go through the, tiny puppy stuff. And this time it was like, oh my God, like this thing is so breakable. Like, how are we gonna raise it and like not kill it by accident? But here she is, a year and change later, and she's this like healthy, happy little, ball of energy. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Diana, this has been so much fun. Thank you for hopping on with me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It was good to talk about something that wasn't entirely music for a second.
Yeah. Well, I realized quickly when I started doing this podcast, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to just talk about whatever we feel like talking about, and not because I love doing radio interviews, but they were short and sweet and to the point, and were all about the project and the music, and like, 15 minutes, boom, done. And I was like, no, I want to stretch it out to like an hour, and just talk about whatever we're doing, and it doesn't have to be music. So yeah, thanks for going with the flow with me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And where can people go to find your socials, your music? Where's the best place to find out about your music?
Well, it's pretty much, I mean, it's on all DSPs. So if you just type in my name to Spotify or Apple Music, you will find the album called Misadventure there. My Instagram is just Diana_DeMuth. And those are probably the best ways to find me. But, you can Google anything these days and it'll probably all come up.
Yeah, I know. I always feel a little bit silly asking that question. I'm like, you see the name of the person on the podcast episode title, just Google it. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, for directly just to get to the music, I would say for sure Spotify or Apple Music, whatever way you consume streaming nowadays.
Yeah, and also, of course, be on the lookout for tour dates when that starts happening again, and everybody should go see Diana live.
Yes, yeah, please come to the live shows whenever they commence again.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see you myself, because Billy and Renee are friends of mine, and they're wonderful, together and as a band, and yeah, so I'm sure it's an awesome live set.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have you at the show when they happen again.
Thanks for listening to More Music Please Quarantine Beat. Follow the show on Instagram at moremusic.podcast, and check out the website moremusicpodcast.com for new episodes. Questions or comments, email moremusic.podcast@gmail.com. Thanks to DJ Scully, Michael Cadnar, and James Stewart for the catchy theme song you're hearing now. I'm MK Burnell. Talk to you next time.